who's ready for our next panel? Amazing. All right, so referenced during, I think, almost every single panel is one of the most extraordinary games ever created. It is a game that requires an unending amount of imagination. I'm actually a dungeon master myself, and I find myself so excited. I actually have half my party right now here. That's a nice, he's a good dwarf. He has a Scottish accent, but nobody understands it, so he has to put on a Neverwinter accent. It's a whole thing. But so excited to welcome up our extraordinary Dungeons & Dragons panel on how to be a dungeon master. So come on up, everybody. These guys are awesome.
Give me a break.
I don't like this.
Whoa! What's happening?
Whoa!
Where are we? Look out! Fear not, Ranger.
How's everybody doing today?
Magician, please.
My name is Travis Oates. I have a channel called Above Board where we do, thank you, where we do a D&D live play, amongst other things. Swim with sharks and play games underwater. I'm also the voice of a few famous voices from Disney, such as Piglet and Kermit the Frog, occasionally. Now, I've got with me a couple amazing dungeon masters. I have Amy Vorpahl, who's a writer and musical creator with 2 music albums, Song in the Key of D&D, and Behold Her Dreams. I get what you did there. Like it. She's written for official D&D books Candlekeep Mysteries and Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, and recently is the DM for the actual play Saga of Sundry, Goblin Mode. I also have with us Jason Charles Miller, who's a critically acclaimed, thank you, and highly accomplished singer-songwriter, an award-winning voice actor, a co-host Bardic Inspiration, a live songwriting show for Codename Entertainment, and has hosted the Geek and Sundry RPG show Starter Kit, and is the DM of the Gax Pack on Gary Con Live. And finally, we have Jason Carl, that's right, 2 Jasons for the price of 1. He was best known as the game master host of LA by Night on YouTube, a Vampire the Masquerade streaming actual play. He's a guest dungeon master at D&D in a Castle, and he's the brand marketing manager for World of Darkness. So, thank you. Thank you very much. So, today we are going to be talking a little bit about how to be an effective dungeon master. And how many people out here play Dungeons and Dragons? Yeah?
It's okay, you can admit it. Let's go.
Yeah, we're friends now. It's a safe space.
Yeah.
How many have had ineffective dungeon masters in their past? Not necessarily the ones that they have right now. Yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to be an effective dungeon master. And I think what I mean by that, at least, is somebody who can have a story that's moving, have a experience which is fulfilling for the players. That's a big part of it. And have the ability to have the players be as much a part of the story as the DM is. I think that's a big part of it, at least for me. So let's start with you, Amy. What do you do to prepare as a DM that makes you an effective dungeon master?
I prepare. It's so different depending on if I'm doing it at a con for strangers, at home with my friends, for a produced show where they tell me what the episodes need to be. But I guess because that's really hard. I want to say generally what matters to me is prioritizing the player characters and knowing that they're the main characters. So for a home game or a produced show, I will go really deeply into player characters' backstories, and I will make the story, no matter what world I've built, tailored to that backstories in ways that I can champion it and mess with it. And for cons, I guess I will build that stuff in. Like, I will build in backstories for them.
And that goes a long way to making them feel like they're the central characters.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times I think you can feel in a game that you're just a cog in the wheel. But if the story that they came up with for their characters are incorporated into your world, because most of us, to a certain extent at least, play some kind of a world that we've created, then that really makes them have ownership, I think, of the story, which is a big part of it.
One of the things I've been doing for conventions or for games where it's just going to be a one-shot is I will let the players choose where they're from or choose one of 3 factions, and I will give each faction different information that will change how they react and like how they want to pursue different things. So sometimes there will be infighting, but it's also in favor of serving the story, and none of them know what's actually true, which is fun.
Sure. And that is a hard thing too. Like, you do want there to be conflict, but you don't want the conflict between players to get out of hand, right? Have you? I mean,
I don't know.
Right. Well, yeah. Have you dealt with that, Jason, about trying to make sure that the conflict within the story doesn't become the conflict between the characters and slow things down and make things unpleasant, I guess?
Not so much as a DM, but as a player. I've been in
Sure.
several home campaigns where we had a really adversarial player, and like I knew that our DM had prepared for days for us to go into this labyrinth, and the other player was like, "Nah, I don't want to go in there," so the rest of us couldn't. But for me as a DM, like what I try to do is, obviously I want to give my player characters as much agency as possible. I want them to be able to make any choice that they want to make and just roll with it. And preparation for the environment that I'm going to put them in, I think, is really important, so that they have those options, and I can quickly improvise with them.
And at the very least, give them the illusion that that's what's happening.
Right.
Right? Because I sometimes will plan. Exactly. Well, this is for the DMs. But I will sometimes plan, this is what I think I'm going to do in the story. But how I get to that point in the story is how they bring me to that point. So it does feel like organically they're making the decisions that leads to that, even though that's the place where I felt that we were going, and so they feel like they're the ones that got them there. Now you play a very you run a very story driven, emotionally driven game.
I don't know what gave you that idea, but sure. I do run Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
And Dragons.
Sure.
Even in this economy, you get both.
Sure.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Exactly.
Like rock and roll, gin and tonic, both. I run a lot of Vampire the Masquerade, obviously, because that's been my passion for a long time. But regardless of what I'm running, I always try to bring emotion to the forefront, and that includes player emotion. I start by asking the players what they want from the experience, whether I'm at a one-shot at a convention, whether I'm at a 4-day D&D in a castle event, an actual play streaming on YouTube. We start by sitting down together and finding out what everybody is here for. We want to find out what kind of emotional experience they want to walk away with, what specific emotions do they want to feel. Do they want to feel horror? Do they want to feel love? Do they want to feel heroic? And I start building my story around their responses to try to deliver the emotional impact that they've asked for.
And that's a really, really good point. For those of you out there who have family or children that you DM for, like, that's a big thing to know what do your players want? If I'm going to have my son playing a game, it's going to be very different than what I'm going to do with a bunch of adults.
Well, think about if Jason is running a game for Amy and I, and we sit down, and Amy wants to play something that's, epic 20th level kill Smaug, and I want to just sit in a corner and, be Edgar Allan Poe weepy. It's a challenge for Jason, but he's
Sure.
still got to deliver the experience for both of us.
And so how do we deliver that experience?
Jason, this is up to you. You're on spot. I can't wait for this.
Well, I could either.
You just share the spotlight. You just know that you're the director of the
pressure,
show.
man.
There's
No
nothing
pressure.
there's nothing to say that you couldn't be a level 20 Edgar Allan Poe weeping in the corner.
I look
Sure.
forward to this.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and that brings, what do you do? This is perfect because this will happen in almost any D&D campaign eventually. What do you do when you have somebody in a game who doesn't seem like they're enjoying themselves? Like, how do you combat that, especially within the game itself? Let's say they'd stop enjoying themselves at hour 1 of the 4-hour game. Like, how do we combat that?
Jump ball.
God,
Anyone?
I haven't run into that in so long.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah, I know. I will say that when there is something missing from the table, I take full responsibility for it. So if there's fun missing from the table, I know that's because I'm not having as much fun as I could be. So I just try to shift. I think a dungeon master is a leadership position as much as any other leadership position in like even corporate America or anything like that, middle management, whatever. It's like the stuff trickles down. And so if someone, I would, if that were happening, I don't know what I would do, but I for sure would be, I know that I would be responsible for it. I would clock it and deal with it, but I nothing's coming to me at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, taking a break to kind of break the tension and maybe having communication with each player, I think is a good. It's something I've done in the past to make sure that everyone is kind of on the right path.
Not too long ago, I had a situation actually in a game that you played in.
I know I wasn't having
Where-
any fun. I'm kidding.
But no, it was where all of a sudden what was happening became like really serious. Like it was one of those things where you planned as a DM and you thought that's one thing, but then it just became like a couple bad rolls got made and some non-player characters died because they weren't able to save them. And it started to become like really, really depressing almost. And that's where you have to, and I have an improv background, and I think improvisation is a huge part of what we do. And for me, it was just, okay, can I subtly change the emotional drift of this and have something either jubilant or humorous happen that pulls us out of that. And you got to do it very gently because you can't do an abrupt shift.
Right.
But so a lot of the times for me, it's controlling the flow emotionally of what's happening there and being very sensitive to listening. One of the things I think that I tell a lot of people who are beginning DMs, we have a tendency because we're so much in our head and we plan so much to actually listen to what they're saying and how they're saying it, because that will give you a really good idea of how they're feeling emotionally in the moment. What do you think back there?
I'm going to try to condense that down into a maxim for an effective DM. An effective DM reads the room.
Yeah.
And I think that's implied in the good advice that Amy was giving, is that the DM has the ability, and if you're a new DM, you'll develop this just through practice and experience. If you're an experienced DM, you already know what I mean. You'll read the room. You'll be able to scan the room, look at people's faces, hear the tone of their voice, read their body language, and understand, 3 out of 4 people here are having a great time. One person isn't. And then you can start to think in your head very quickly, what do I need to do to shift the tempo, change this focus, move the spotlight, shorten the narrative, whatever it needs to be. The effective DM has a huge toolbox full of things they can do to address that situation. But you have to be able to know that it's happening and then make a good decision in the moment, usually in your head, how to address it. If you do your work well, nobody will even know that the transition happened. It'll just be fun again. If you didn't do your work well, then they'd flip over the table and probably, kill you. But I mean, who has not faced that situation?
Sometimes I keep an initiative order in my head when we're not in combat because I want it, and I don't tell them that. Meaning,
you're not a well man. It's like
yeah. But what I'm saying is, I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak because whether we're doing an actual play or we're at D&D in a castle or I'm playing with my friends, we play this game because we love to interact and we love to act and we love to to get enthusiastic about something. And you might have a couple introverts at the table too that, if you're not careful, haven't said anything in 45 minutes.
And that's completely true. And I have kept like a list of, because in my game there are 8, and I have sometimes just a list of their character names and check off when I feel they've had a moment. Right, that person's had a moment, so that when I look down and I go, okay, who hasn't had a moment? I make sure I go to that player next, so that someone's not feeling left out. So shifting gears a little bit. Story is such a huge part of what you're doing as a DM. Amy, where do you start?
We're going to start with Jason.
We're going to start with Jason. Which
Jason? What's wrong?
Start over there.
See, I had checked off, and Jason had talked, so I was going to
I
you
just
next.
don't want to go first all the time.
No, you don't have to go first all the time.
he's keeping the initiative in his head.
Exactly, I'm keeping initiative in my head. All right, I'll go to Cowboy Jason first. Cowboy Jason and Vampire Jason. So where do you start on a story to make an effective story? Like where do you start?
It really depends. If it's a long campaign that we're starting from the beginning, then everyone's story can start separately, and I bring everyone together. But usually, the party knows each other, I would think, for the most part. I like to start games where everyone is not meeting each other for the first time. I'd like them to at least have a backstory that connects to each other. And we can do that in a session 0. We can do that before the actual game starts. But I think it's good for there to be a feeling of camaraderie amongst the players, so that we're not having an evening of, oh, hi, how are you? My name is kind of thing.
Sure.
One of the ways you can do that too, though, is like each player we can go around the table and each player can sort of tell the rest of the group how they met the group and how that started, and they can either determine that before the game starts or right then and there.
Vampire Jason?
It's a good question, and I hope I have a good answer for you. The reasons that we tell stories are inherent and intrinsic to who we are as people, as humans. Everybody came to MultiCon today because they're a fan of stories. You came to meet people who were involved in creating your favorite stories. That's what we're here for. And the same is true in tabletop role-playing games. The big difference between watching a story or reading a story is that in tabletop role-playing games, you are creating the story together in the moment with your friends. It's a collaborative narration. It's almost like writing and acting out a movie in real time with your buddies. And so what drives those kinds of stories forward and makes them fun is a little different than maybe what you see on a screen or in the pages of a book, although they are related, obviously. I like to start with a theme. I like to have something to say in stories. A lot of my stories deal with rebelling against oppressive systems. They deal with, I saw that. I don't know what you mean. They deal with personal internal struggles, human against beast. That's very Vampire the Masquerade, of course. They deal with consequences of your actions. And they deal with people who are stuck in extraordinary situations that they didn't create and have to get out of. Once I know what the players want, because I ask them, I start building the story around that. But I always try to weave in one of those themes so that it feels like a cohesive narrative that we can create together. I know where the story starts. I have no idea where it's going to end because that's what we're playing to find out what happens.
Sure.
Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Amy.
Oh, my turn. Finally. No, by design. I will say whether I play a one-shot or a big campaign, what I start with is just what's going on in the world. And then I also prep what's really going on. And I tell the players what's going on. And they can fill out where they stand in that. So if there's like, a big famine or a big loss of knowledge or whatever, they can be like, I'm seeking knowledge, or I'm the bookkeeper over here, or like the keeper of books or whatever. And then I have my what's really going on that is cruel. What's really going on is always some level of cruel/evil, and for those reasons, very secret too. So it's always like they're only at the beginning getting the symptoms, and then I've got control over the disease. And I will say, usually I actually do, if it's a show, I actually do have an idea of how that might culminate. Again, it might not, but I need that for my brain to know, okay, we've got 20 episodes or 30 or 6 episodes. I do need to have that thing that we're driving towards, at least in my brain. But the act 2 of it is I don't want to say it's completely a question mark, but it's very environment based is what I can control. And then, and for that, I just mean that I know different cool places that would be fun to have set piece and cinematic based encounters. So yeah, I kind of know the beginning and they know the beginning, and then what they don't know is what we'll find out. And sorry, last thing I'll say is I say that like every TTRPG game, the genre of every TTRPG game is mystery, because the dungeon master knows things that the players don't, and if it's fun and juicy, then the seeds will be laid. So it could be, like fantasy mystery or sci-fi mystery, and it might not always be this like, oh wow, it's this kind of mystery. It could be like, it's a mystery, it's a mystery, like that genre too. But I do think if you approach it as everything's a mystery, and the mystery is what's really going on, that's what's fun for me. That's what I can wrap my head around.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, there's a big difference between, like you said, planning a one-shot, a 6-episode, or a 30-episode plus story, because they're...
Or a 30-year campaign.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think anyone ever plans for those. I think those just happen.
And I would say, too, the only thing I would add to that, I think there's some great answers, would be don't be afraid to change where you were going with the story as the DM. Don't get locked into something. You're like, oh, this is the path I was thinking that we were going to go down. Especially if the characters do something unexpected or really brilliant.
Or die.
Or die. Yeah. But you
that
go,
would never happen.
Yeah, but you go with the flow and you go, you know what? This was the idea that I had. However, this is a really interesting idea that we're going down. I'm going to shift my focus over to here and let them, go the direction rather than try and force it down the other path. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask or any? Yes. Hi.
So the people in the streaming internet can hear me, I'll yell. What fun ways have you punished players who have not cooperated during campaigns?
Someone's looking
Do you want to
away.
say your name? Do you want anyone to know who you are?
So
We should tell for the streaming
Speaking
audience,
of
we should
cruel.
tell the question.
for the streaming audience, he wanted to know what are some fun ways that you have punished players that have gotten out of hand or defied you in some fashion. I would like to say I've never done that, but I will say there was one. Every once in a while as a dungeon master, you get, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this at some point, probably during a private game. It doesn't happen so much when it's planned in front of a camera. But when you get a group of people together, and for some reason, everyone has decided to be the jerk. Usually you got one jerk player, that's...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or one really comedic player, or whatever. And that's fine if there's one. But then you get a game where everyone has decided to be a jerk. And those games, they don't survive very long. And I do remember running a session, this was a long, long time ago, where everyone was a jerk. And I was getting so tired of it. And one of the players said, I did something. And one of the players said, you can't do that. And I said, and I went, I'm the dungeon master. I can do anything. And I said, in fact, all of you, you're teleported to a field. There's a bunny rabbit there, and he kills you all. You're dead. The campaign's over. And they went, oh, ha ha. I said, no, not ha ha. You're dead. You're all dead. The bunny rabbit killed you. Goodbye. I'll see you next week. And I didn't flip the table, but I ended the campaign. Because you get nothing. Good day, sir. Yeah, sharp, pointy teeth. That's where it came from. And I did end that campaign that way, and that was after like 20 weeks. I'd had it. That's the closest I could think to like punishing somebody.
Do I know anyone that was in that campaign?
No, this was years and years and years ago. This was back when I was like a young man.
The main thing is take away what they love. And that is normally the little guy NPC companion.
Sure.
And you just, well, you know who's making the bed and who's lying in it, okay? So they know what they did. And it's very cutthroat if you do that. But that'll calm them down usually. And then the other way, which isn't real, but it is fun, is to clock words that they say during their jokes and use them against them. So one character, I gave him a choice to be a lycanthrope of anything at all. And he was like, oh, and I introduced that one character was a were-eagle. And he was like, that would be so cool. And I'm like, yeah, but, okay, but then you could fly and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, okay, look, I want something like, I want to be a bird, period. And then I was like, great. And I made him a were-swallow because
Sure.
I made it so that the were-eagle thought he was a were-eagle, but he actually, whatever. It was like, yeah, and you'll never fly because the wings don't carry your weight. So yeah, use words against them. Yeah.
I was punished once as a player. I played a rogue and long campaign, and I finally I was my character for months of campaigning. I was working towards this helmet, this like very like powerful helmet that was going to make me the most powerful rogue in the realm. And the DM, for whatever reason, made it so that anytime I put the helmet on, a beam of light shot straight up for miles. Sure. And I'm a rogue, okay? A thief, just trying to hide. And
everything good has taxes, and not all taxes are money.
I'm still trying to figure out what I did to deserve that. So I have a lot of sleepless nights. Remember that. I don't really like to punish my players, honestly. Maybe because of that. Maybe that I have.
I will say I have a warning system.
Okay.
Like usually I don't punish people because usually they catch on, especially if you've played with me very long. Because I will say, "Are you sure you want to do that?" That's like the warning system. Like that's one, and then they'll say, "Yeah, I'm going to do that." I'm like, "Okay, you're doing that, right?" And they usually by that time, if you played with me, you go, maybe I should second guess that. Because usually what that means is you're about to have something terrible happen to you or someone you love or an item that you treasure or something like that. You're about to do something that I think is stupid, and you're gonna end up with some kind of horrible loss.
But I will say, in those instances, don't players want that? Like, there's a certain level of, like, you gamble so you can lose so that when you win, it's all that sweeter, right? Like, don't people want to be punished?
Are you sure you want to split the party right now?
Yeah. I think some people literally want to see what happens.
That's a different channel on the internet.
Yeah.
Well, I think you could always. There are players that just love to hoard stuff.
Sure.
You know what I mean? What? Hey.
You were a rogue. Maybe it was you.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But there are certain players that are very attached to every single thing that they have, and so that I tread carefully with those type of players if you're going to take something away from them because you don't know what might happen to you, and we are still in real life after all.
How about you, Jason? Can you think of any time that you?
I don't think they dare, frankly. But that said, my favorite storytelling, my favorite game mastering maxim is you can get what you said you wanted and still not be happy. Usually when I explain that, it solves pretty much all my problems at the table. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember. I'm like 109 years old. I've been doing this for a long time, and I can't remember a situation where a player behaved like you did. But if it did happen, I would assume it's a mismatch between the table and the player.
Right.
They're in the wrong game.
Yeah, it does seem that like players among the table do self-police as well. You know, like there's normally a lot of rooting out that happens that I don't actually have to.
I've killed off players that I feel wanted to be killed off. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen people that are
that's
doing
different.
something where it feels like you just want out of the game. Like you want out of the game. I'll give you the out of the game, and you don't have to come back next week because you've decided you're out. Like I've had that happen before, especially in private games, where I just get that feeling. Any other questions? Yes. Sure. Oh, I do have an answer to that. So I will repeat the question. They were saying, what is a circumstance in which a player has made a roll that was so amazing that it just the table went wild? Or so I played I had a campaign, and these characters were probably 4th or 5th level, somewhere in there, and a dragon showed up. Now, in the game I was playing, in fact, it was on Lear, which is the world that takes place in my live play. And dragons in that world are like gods. They're not something you battle. They're not a creature you battle, really. And all the dragon was supposed to do was come in and blow this huge gulp of fire and leave. Well, did we lose the PA? Are you hearing me? Okay.
Okay.
Test.
You turn me down. Maybe I'm. All right. I talk loud. I'm a loud talker. So, and I had given them this ring to fix a different problem that I knew was going to come up that could stop time for a very short brief of time. Very short. And so, the guy who was a fighter in the party used the ring and stopped time. He had this fairly magical sword for that campaign, at least. He got up on the dragon. He says, I'm going to attack the dragon. And I'm going to, on his head, I'm going to wedge the sword in between the scales, and I'm going to kill this dragon. And I said, good luck, buddy. I said, I mean, you can. It's roll. And he rolled a natural 20. And I said, okay, roll again. I said, if you roll another natural 20, you can kill this. You can do, this will work. And he rolled another natural 20.
You shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, I know. But what are the odds? And so he killed the dragon, and I literally had the god that he worshipped come down and give him a new character class. Because I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So he became a Dragon Slayer class that didn't exist in my game. I gave him the stats later. But I was like, I got to do something. I've never seen this before. And he was a really nice guy, but everybody went completely nuts over that.
Mine is that they met the evil person. They were supposed to fight her. They decided instead I want to change her mind about humanity, and I didn't know what to do with that information. So I had them. I mathed out a difficult number to reach, and I had them all roll all of their stats, all their ability modifiers, and they didn't make it. And then they reminded me, they were like, wait, what about this NPC who's been with us this whole time that I forgot about? And they rolled her stats too, and that was the clincher. So they were able to change an entire deity's mind as opposed to fighting her which was very satisfying for the story. But it had nothing to do with like a D20. It was more like they remembered
Sure.
something that I'll always forget the NPCs that are with them.
Actually, one that comes to mind was I was running a one-shot at Gen Con a couple years ago, and Travis McElroy, who you might know from the Adventure Zone, he sort of joined the party at the last minute. Like, he wasn't on the panel, and but he's a good friend of mine. He's like, hey, can I jump on the game? I'm like, sure. So the party battles their way. It was a very linear game because it was a game in front of a crowd. They had to the party had to retrieve a magical sphere that I called the psychedelic sphere.
Yeah.
But for the final battle, they were going to battle like a bunch of Githyanki guards, and through either like a performance, I think it was a performance roll. He rolled a natural 20 and basically convinced them all to just go home.
That's how
Yeah.
it felt. Yes, that's how it felt. It's like, oh, no more combat.
Yeah, he just because it was just so it was just the perfect roll and the perfect. The guys were like, you know what? Yeah, why are we even guarding this? Let's just
Well,
leave.
If anyone could charisma their way out of a situation, it would be Travis McElroy.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to answer the question I think you're asking. Two lovers, both down to 1 hit point each. One of them's going to die. They know it. I know it. Everybody at the table knows it. There is no way they are both getting out of this situation. And the vampire lord has to choose which one to take. They both decided that they would roll, and whoever got the lower roll would be the one to go. They both rolled ones. And they just looked at each other and nodded, and they decided to go together.
Oh.
Wow.
I think that's the question you're actually asking.
We good? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I was asking.
We're not good.
All right. Well, thank you everybody
Yeah.
for coming by.
Thank you. That was a great story to end on, too.
Yeah, that was a great
incredible.
story to end on. That made me tear up a little bit. Well, thank you very much. I'm Travis Oates. Let's real quick just let them know where you can see you all.
I'm Amy Vorpahl. You can find me at Vorpahl Sword anywhere on the internet.
Yeah, I'm Jason Charles Miller. Just type that in. You'll find me.
I'm Jason Carl, and I go by the handle Vampires and Vino everywhere because, vampires and vino.
And I'm Travis Oates, and please come to Above Board TV on YouTube and see all the stuff that we're doing there in our D&D live play with Jason Charles Miller. So, all right, thank you everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
very
coming
much for being here today. Thank you.